One of the most horrifying things, at least to me, about the October 7th massacre of innocent Israelis by bloodthirsty Palestinians was the complete inability of the Israelis to defend themselves. Now, this statement in no way is intended to blame anyone but the attackers. But it was heartbreaking to see these poor people have no recourse but to run and hide from these animals instead of mowing them down with semi-automatic weapons. Gun ownership in Israel is practically non-existent, which I think is starting to change, fortunately. But it brings up the question of why the freedom to defend yourself from attack, enshrined in America's Second Amendment through the absolute genius of the Founding Fathers, is so vitally important to maintaining a civilized society. Leftists would tell you that it is the guns that are uncivilized, not the users. Well, why not say the same thing about increasing use of vehicles as weapons of terrorism? As with most leftist arguments, reason and logic are completely missing, tossed aside in an emotional attempt to trick the gullible into giving up more and more control over their own lives. Nobody needs an AR-15, says our current totalitarian-in-chief.
There is no one answer fits everything. Ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. No one needs to have a weapon that can fire over 30, 40, 50, even up to 100 rounds, unless you think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests or something.
First of all, what? Second of all, if we've learned anything in the recent past, it is that the need to ensure personal safety is more important now than it's ever been. Joe Biden says deer don't wear Kevlar. That's right, but terrorists do. Just before they rape, torture, and murder your women and children right in front of your eyes. Do you honestly want to trust Joe Biden and his woke military to stand between you and this kind of horror? I, for one, most certainly do not. There are two basic types of gun violence by criminals and gun violence by stupid people. I'm sorry, but that is just the way it is. The overwhelming majority of gun owners do not fit into either of these categories. But Joe Biden and his leftist cronies want us to believe that there are really only two kinds of people in the USA: bad people who own guns and good people who don't. A lot of good people who didn't own guns were slaughtered by animals on October 7th. And that is the fault of the state inserting itself between its citizens and those citizens' abilities to protect themselves and their families. Now, Joe Biden says if you really want to protect yourself, you need fighter jets. Okay. Anyway, he implies that it would be absolutely inconceivable for us to have to protect ourselves from him, from Joe Biden. It is not inconceivable, Mr. President. And it is becoming increasingly likely the more you try to shove your toxic policies down our throats. There's only so much that we can swallow. Now, we have no intention of going after you, despite what you hear from your unhinged constituencies. But if you come after us to try to strip away even more of our freedoms, we will be prepared. So forgive us if we don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling from the idea of you being the only one with defensive capabilities. In the bigger picture, the good news is that U.S. citizens are better positioned to repel an internal or external attack than any other people in the world. It gives me great pleasure to picture these pathetic Hamas morons flying their little kites into a dusty Texas border town and going door to door looking for people to murder. Now, the thing about Kevlar, it won't stop a headshot. A handful of armed citizens would have these cowards running for the hills quicker than you can say, Allah Akbar.